Welcome to Nuut Education with Isha and Danny.
Adil, welcome to an episode of nuut-ed. It's great to have you joining us today.
Thanks very much. A debut podcast for me.
It is. On your own podcast,
on
essentially.
This series, yeah, fantastic.
Now, we thought we'd wrap up our first season of nuut-ed with, I guess, talking to you, the founder. If people don't know who you are, they can now put a face to the name if they're watching on YouTube, which everyone can watch us.
Right.
But why don't you firstly maybe introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about who you are?
Sure, absolutely, yeah. So my name is Adil Bux. Started this company around 4 years ago, actually, so it's been going for a decent amount of time. I've always had interest in this space, in the kind of wellness, health space. As nutrition science gets better, as our practices get better, our habits, I think it's important to make sure that we've got products that are kind of complementing the better knowledge that's out there. And so hence Nuut was born about 4 years ago we launched.
Yeah, so how did you go from concept to, I guess, the incredible product we have today?
Sure. Okay, so started off, I had a history with supplements and with health-related products as well. So, my consumer product career started off in the early 2000s with a sunscreen brand called Invisible Zinc, and developed both the formulation with some fantastic formulators and obviously the brand, and ended up selling that company to an international company, and it's now still one of the most popular sunscreens in Australia and has different variants around the world, so that's fantastic. Then went into a supplement brand, which is my real passion, is nutrition and nutrition around supplements, or nutrition through supplementation, and interesting science-based diets. So started a company called Wellco in around 2013 and left that a few years after. Obviously a great brand, fantastic products, mainly the Super Elixir, which is the greens product. It was absolutely incredible. And then after I left that, I started thinking about my own needs and what would I like out of a supplement brand or like a wellness brand. And for me, being busy and also very specific about my nutrition and having limited options, I just thought, well, a protein / powdered type product would probably be the best because you can take it anywhere in the world. You can have it at a moment's notice. You can mix it up with water, etc. So these are the parameters I set when I started designing the products. I then thought about what the nature of those products would be, and that was primarily the lowest carbohydrate product I could work with or I could design, and apart from that, make it align loosely to a keto type diet or a paleo type diet or just a general lower carb type diet. And hence we had 3 variants of Nuut, and Nuut was born.
So the market, I guess, the current supplement market is saturated with protein powders, but what does set Nuut apart, and how do you ensure that it's just not another protein powder on the shelf?
Absolutely, yeah. So this is a really interesting question because this is the confusing state of play at the moment. If any of our listeners are on Instagram or follow any kind of social media, they tend to get bombarded with advertisements for nutritional products, primarily protein powders.
And there's a lot of claims that they're putting on there about wellness and what they health and how they're changing the game.
Yeah, well, there's a hell of a lot of claims. And so to set us apart, I started off by making sure I was working with the absolute best formulators I could find. So 2 of the people involved in this were PhD qualified at the nutrition level, and we had a couple of others who had slightly lower qualifications but more practical qualifications. So we wanted to make sure that we had the absolute best type of scientific approach to this that we could take, and hence one of those is my co-director, Dr. Michael Hauck, who is a PhD qualified food scientist. But we looked at all of the kind of objectives we were trying to achieve. We're looking at quality of the best quality of ingredients we could find, and the things that would work most generally for the most amount of people. So quality of ingredients, sophistication around the formulation, and just a general convenience, ease factor. So I'll just throw one more thing in here, and that is that I felt that having our products in single-serve packets was the absolute best way to guarantee most freshness, and freshness with supplements usually equals efficacy or effectiveness. So we went for the single-serve sachets initially, and obviously we still have those. But the problem with that was, of course, waste. We thought, how are we going to deal with this waste issue? Because we're going to have hundreds of thousands or millions of these sachets out there. So we developed our own kind of recycling scheme around those sachets, and obviously people that have bought our product would have always received our little return envelope where we take the returns and we have them recycled for you, instead of having the issue of which bin do you put it in, et cetera, which is an age-old problem.
And one thing I would like to, touch on when you say the quality of ingredients, with Nuut, it has all your daily supplement added to it, your iron, your magnesium.
Yes.
But instead of just adding it at low levels, you've done a really high level and high quality of each of them, haven't you? So it's not like you need to then go take another supplement for this. It's not in there just for the sake of it. It's actually going to benefit.
Absolutely. So the formulation strategy was not just around producing a protein powder, it was around producing a meal. So every single Nuut packet actually qualifies as a meal according to specific food standards. So it's like a meal replacement, but most of our customers use them as proteins, and a fair few also use them as meal replacements. But it's got all the recommended vitamins and minerals that are deemed essential as part of your daily required intake. So that does set us way apart from any other protein powder. It might put us closer to meal replacement type products, but no, of course, we do a very, very different. We have a very different approach to it than that.
Now, plant-based nutrition is also at the core of Nuut. What motivated you to choose a plant-based product, and how do you see this aligning, with the evolving preferences of consumers out there?
Absolutely. So, plant-based. I've always flirted with plant-based, and I'd love to have weeks where I'm only eating plant-based, as opposed to other weeks where I might be more flexitarian. I just thought it was it was the type of approach that would appeal to the most amount of people and be beneficial to the most amount of people, because we do have a lot of people that are looking to decrease meat proteins or animal proteins in their diet. And we just thought, well, this is just a really good way. As long as we can formulate it correctly, which a lot of people don't do, we should be able to, or the end customer, still gets the full nutrition that they require without sacrificing too much. But we're not preachy about veganism. We're not preachy even about plant-based. We just feel it's like an easy, simple way to approach things.
And speaking about this wellness and the success stories around it, do you think, the fact that choosing the plant-based options means that, we've heard a lot of people can digest it really well with the bloating, the stomach upsets that you can get from other protein powders, and that's what makes Nuut so great? Yeah,
for sure. So if you think about the old style protein powders are purely whey-based, so whey is the protein in dairy, so milk, etc. A lot of those products are, I just feel like they're suboptimal because they don't work for everyone. A lot of people have issues with whey. There's also a quality issue as well. So, if you're finding that your product is very cheap and it's whey based, we probably don't know where that milk or that dairy has come from. And I don't want to obviously accuse anyone of anything. So I just feel consumers do need to be careful about looking for the best quality they can find, because you will find that a product that doesn't have great quality is also not only is not going to be as good for you, but it may be contributing to bloating and a lot of those things that people experience. So 100%. We are very focused on high quality. And look, and one more thing that I didn't mention earlier is that having a very high credentialed formulation team means that we're thinking about the synergistic effect of the ingredients. So we make sure that everything that we put in there works well with the other things. Apart from the simple bioavailability, when you combine ingredients in certain ways, the bioavailability increases of certain ingredients. And this is actually what Dr. Michael's thesis was on, was the combination of these different foods and how bioavailable the actual the nourishment, the nutrition in each is.
Now, we're very lucky as on the podcast to have you joining us, to the mind behind Nuut. So why don't we get a little personal with you now? What is your own, I guess, wellness rituals? How does your nutrition, how do you look after your well-being, and how do you incorporate, I guess, Nuut into your own daily life?
Sure. So I've been following kind of nutrition science for well over 20 years now, and so much has changed since we first started hearing about low carb, and we first started hearing about higher protein, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, many, many years ago, the obsession was on fat. And as we found now, most of the evidence points to fat being actually an essential part of the diet.
Especially for women and their hormones.
Absolutely, and satiating and for taste and a bunch of other things as well. Yeah, so in terms of what I do, I just look for the general trends and the large themes that come through nutritional science. And for me, it's always been down to low carbohydrate is very, very important for me. Higher protein to make sure that you're feeding your muscles, to put it very crudely, and just generally not eating as much as I used to. So my general day will not involve 3 full big meals. It will usually be a variation of that. There might be a couple of smaller snacks, but I always look for a certain protein level during the day and I guess just a nice balance of I guess nice fresh food and
whole foods.
Yeah, whole foods, and I'll always have a Nuut. So
yeah, and how do you have that Nuut? Do you have it in a smoothie? Are you more of a baking up style, or you just like you say, one of the snacks on the go? You'll have it as a shake.
Yeah, I will always have it as a shake, and so I've been known to freeze it. I've been known to do a whole bunch of things, but certainly the easiest way I find is to make up a big jug instead of doing it each time and keep it in my fridge, and then it can be used as an in between meal snack because it's very filling and protein rich. Or sometimes I will just use it if I'm really busy. I'll just have the shaker, have it ready, put it in the car, and
on the go.
On the go.
Convenience factor of Nuut is there right there in your life.
Absolutely, yeah.
And now you've got the 3 blends at the moment. Mm-hmm. What can we maybe expect from Nuut next year? Is there some exciting things that our audience can look out for?
Yeah, for sure. So we, when we first started, we thought, okay, well, these are the 3 main areas we want to cover, like a very low carbohydrate, higher fat product, our keto product, the paleo, which is higher in protein, relatively low in carb, and the daily balance, which is just more of a balanced product for everyday use. So once again, just going back to our original philosophy around making sure that we're abreast with nutrition science, apart from the usual things that one would expect from a company like ours, so we'll have new flavours coming out next year in the various formats. We're also looking into like a lot of higher end stuff as well. We really want to follow the science through and look for products and services that will allow our customers to absolutely optimize their nutrition. And so that will probably come in the form of a personalized service and much more emphasis on custom-made products for people. So not only will you get a great balance, you'll actually get a great balance based on your specific physiology and a few other bits and pieces. So we're hoping to have that in play towards the end of next year, but certainly a lot of great new products that we've got planned for early and mid next year as well.
And I think one thing it's really, I guess, important for us to kind of get across would be at Nuut that it takes a while to develop a product that is so high quality. Yep. You can turn over quickly different flavours and add different chemicals or different, flavouring to a product. Yep. But if we're trying to balance all of this stuff in the back end, it does take a while to develop something, doesn't it?
Absolutely. You know, we're not the quickest in market. It's taken us a long time even just to develop new flavours because there are effects that a new flavour will have on our products that are really unexpected and slightly detrimental. So we put them all through a fairly rigorous, what would you call it, like
a testing process. There's
yeah,
multiple
testing,
variations and
absolutely.
Yeah.
And the testing may be in the form of time-based testing as well as other types of tests. So we do have a number of things that we're always looking at and constantly testing. So yeah, we'll have a few interesting new things next year and then a lot of really interesting new things towards the end of next year.
Exactly, and there's going to be more for the podcast next year, so people can get excited
Absolutely,
for that.
yeah.
More guests, more health and wellness there, and then obviously if everyone follows us on Instagram, on our social media, they'll be updated with a lot of exciting things to come. But thank you for joining us today. It was great to hear more about how, I guess, Nuut started and a bit more of that technical side into the product.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Danielle. And I hope the listeners got something out of it. And as I always say, if anyone ever has a question about any of our products, just feel free to email me directly. It's pretty straightforward.
Yep.
And I will usually respond. And hopefully I can give good advice.